The footy's on Triple M.
The weekend is here.
I like it.
And so is Triple M footy.
And doesn't he love it?
I just want to say I've got a pretty good feeling about this.
This is the Friday Huddle.
For Reed Water and Macca's 50th birthday.
Triple M rocks footy.
Very good evening. This is the Friday Huddle on Triple M for McDonald's and Ream Hot Water. Triple M rocks footy, and we've got an extraordinary edition of the Friday Huddle coming your way. We've got some drama in our team. There's drama in Brisbane at the moment. The team buses on the way to Metricon Stadium up from Brisbane have hit a serious traffic jam, and there will be a 15-minute delay. Damien Barrett, welcome to you in this game. So that is the first story we need to speak about.
Yeah, it is, Das. Richmond Footy Club yesterday training at Punt Road Oval, preparing for a game at the MCG. Jack Revolt's 300 at the MCG, told to leave the track and get their way to Gold Coast. And as we speak, and now having a police escort, would you believe, Das, to Metricon Stadium because of this accident that has already pushed the game back a minimum 15-minute start time.
Now, I would speak to Nath Brown, but he's mesmerised by himself. He's watching a game on Fox Footy where apparently he kicked 4 goals in 25 possessions. He has not been able to take his eye off himself on the screen, so we'll see if we can get Nath back onto the show in a minute. But you've been normally hearing the voice of Mark Howard, our host of the Friday Huddle, the little high-pitched Howie, but he's now not with us at the moment. The Chief is a late scratching as well, and we zoom in to Howie's bedroom. Chief, I think, is lying on a couch, or is that the famous bed where he gets out of bed at 12? On the couch. All right, let's welcome Chief. Welcome, Howie.
Hello.
How are you, lads? Now, Howie, let's start with you, because Chief looks very comfortable in that couch. He's got his arse groove shaped nicely into that couch. You, Howie, particularly flat. What's happened to you, mate?
Well, I've got a slightly bit more on my plate. I come to you live from the Howie Games Studios, Australia's #1 sports podcast.
Goodness!
Not anymore. And unfortunately, where I live in Barwon Heads, there was a young bloke who tested positive at that local primary school and the local footy training. So as of 2 days ago, anyone that goes to Barwon Heads Primary School and anyone they live with are in 14 days quarantine. We've had the negative test. We were given a choice to ask with 9-year-old Mac, the big penguin. We were allowed to send him out to the cubby house. As long as he didn't enter the house, we could go and come as we pleased, which his sister was keen on. But unfortunately, my wife and his mother decided we need to embrace him in this difficult situation. So we're all doing 14 days where we can't leave our front gate, which is quite extraordinary, as is the whole of Barwon Heads pretty much at the moment.
Now, is it true, Howie, that you're also given the option to have a negative test and come to Melbourne, and you were halfway down the highway and Erica rang you and said, I think you need to come home?
Well, a slight variation of the truth, as per usual, Nathan. They did say to me, the contact tracers, our gold contact tracers, the gold standard they are, don't worry about that. They said, due to the fact you've got another abode, you can go there as long as you get a negative test. I had a discussion with Erica, and she actually, Nate said it might be better for the harmony of the household if I did go to Melbourne for the 14-day period. But I thought it was best to stick with the crew in these somewhat tricky times.
Before we get to the Chief, who, as I said, looks decidedly happy, Howie, am I right in understanding that you had the option to put the big penguin into solitary confinement, put Mills through the door? The contact tracer said that's okay, contact tracers, and you just have him isolated for 14 days. So that was an option?
That's exactly right. As long as he's in a separate part of the house and doesn't leave that part of the house, his sister, the Pickle's, very keen to see him locked in his bedroom and a little sort of hole like a doggy door put through. We did discuss it. We sat round as a family. It was a split vote. I'm not going to say which way I went, but in the end, we decided we'd throw our lot in with our 9-year-old. So, we are currently 2 days into a 14-day test match that we are in the middle of playing. And if anyone could drop us off some insulation tape and then step away from the building so we could use our taped-up tennis balls, that'd be good. But what are you going to do, mate? This is the state and the system in which we currently live.
That is the way it works. And we cross to the Chief, who's on his couch. He's got a big smile on his face.
He's pumped.
Very, very happy, Chief. What happened to you?
I think the AFL decided this morning that anyone that called the game at the Gabba last week, it then became compulsory to get a negative test. Now, I don't know why they didn't decide earlier in the week, because apparently the commentary box is considered part of the MCC members, Duke, even though I sort of went car park, lifts, commentary box, lifts, car park, didn't see anyone in the lifts, still had to go and have a test this morning and have to isolate until I get the result. And now I'm sure our gold contact tracers and officials will let me know within 3 or 4 weeks.
We are feeling for lockdown 5 here in Melbourne, by the way. If you're listening nationally, our friends in Sydney who experienced it for the first time. But we're going to get some more breaking news. Hang on the line, Howie. And Chief, what's happening, Damo?
Just now, the AFL is saying that the game will start on time, Das, that the team, or at least one of the two teams playing tonight is through the gates, and as such, back to 7:50.
Now, we had, that's good news. So the teams have worked their way through traffic. Now, we were planning, Howie, sitting in your chair tonight because, as I said, Nate Brown is sort of gazing into his own eyes at the moment. A bit of a deep dive. He tells me this was round 8 in 2005, Chief, where he described himself as the best player in the competition. This was about game number 8, was it, Nate? Welcome to you.
Yeah, that game's finished, Duke. I just kicked the winner in that game, and we're on to 2008 now, Brisbane Lions. I love this when they go back through the Friday night games and you get to watch yourself. Wouldn't happen to you too often, but I'd imagine that guys like Chief would be sitting there when they play the Hawthorn and he gets out there with Dermott and Richard Loveridge and all these guys used to hit him on the chest, and he'd be so happy. And this is his perfect spot, Chief. This is his perfect spot, just sitting on the couch. This is what he does best. Apart from lead out and kick 1,000 goals, this is Chief's one wood, sitting on the couch doing bugger all.
And we're just having a look inside Chief's house.
I can't believe you're using the word sitting. Who sits on the couch? You lie on the couch, mate.
He's in a reclined position at the moment now. I'm not sure if you can catch a bit of Chief on Zoom at the moment, but it looks like a very nice leather couch. And this is a man who's been ferociously dating as well, Howie. We've done a bit of work on that in recent times. So,
what about the single bubble, Chief? What's happening there?
Well, mate, I've been approached by, funnily enough, a couple of dating sites that want me to be like the pin-up boy for their sites.
Right.
What's the going rate, Chief, for your services to apply?
Good people, you know.
What would you...
You guys can't see below my waist, can you?
No, at the moment,
Chief.
fortunately, yeah.
Just double checking.
Due to the fact that I have an extra 12 days up my sleeve with nothing to do, I attempted the Chiefs' sleeping hours this morning. So I woke up at 8 and I tried to stay in bed till 11 o'clock. Chief, I don't know what you do. And I had someone with me. I don't know what you do all the way through to 11 o'clock. I got to 9 and that was as much as I could do.
If you had someone with you, Howie, it must be a real boring household. You must be some real low-grade entertainment now.
Well, we've already been 2 days in quarantine already, Chief. So there's only so much I can do.
You might have to take some inspiration.
3 hours with the missus and you drew a blank. How are you going, do you reckon?
Yes, that is a concern for you, Howie. No wonder Erica wanted to ship you off down the highway and get him out of town.
Yeah, the other thing she said to me, she said, Friday night, I always sit home and watch the Desperate Housewives, so don't think you're sitting and watching the footy on the couch. So at this stage, me and the Penguin are putting the lights on in the garage and we're moving into a day-night style session.
Have you locked up the second phone while you're at home, Howard?
Yeah, the second phone is in the drawer. There is a Howie hotline operating at the moment, Nate, but no, it's all locked, mate. Listen, it's in all seriousness, I know there's a lot of people in lockdown, but I know a lot of people listening in Bowen Heads because they like to listen to their number one man on the radio on a Friday night.
Joel Selwood's going on tonight, isn't he?
Yeah, they'll be listening. And I just want to say to them all, 2 days down, 12 to go. Stay close with your family, and we will get through it as a community.
Chief, will you avail yourself of the Triple M airwaves tonight, seeing you're not part of the calling of the game tonight, just to appraise the work of Duke and Brownie and whoever else comes in?
I wouldn't have thought so, Damo.
Didn't think so, no.
But who's calling with Duke? Because, I mean, Howie's our number one caller, so what's Duke going to do? He can't pick up the slack, surely.
I think he's doing the whole lot himself.
I don't think it'll be an issue, Chief. In fact, then we might have a new model here. This may be the last we hear of you and Howie. I think you haven't done a lot of the heavy lifting so far.
Well, you should be fresh from last week, Duke. You didn't get to call much.
I'm feeling pretty
He's doing the comments tonight.
Who's doing the specials?
Nate's taking it all, so he won't be drifting off on his iPad past the halfway.
So it's you two. You're calling the whole game and Nate's doing all the specials.
Pretty sure last time we were in here, I brought the Saint Henri, and I don't see anybody walking in with the wine tonight.
I tell you what, we have done. We've roped in two of the absolute superstars of the Triple M network, Daisy Thomas, Joey Montagna, sitting outside just helping themselves to a little bit of McDonald's pre-game.
So they're so good they don't even get a run in the first segment, those two.
Just wanted to keep them on ice, Joey and Daisy. Just last time there was a holiday taken, Howie. We know that sometimes we just need to play it pretty straight. But we've got a huge game. We're building up to Richmond and Brisbane. We've got Craig Lambert as our cult hero. Anything we should ask Lammy, Chief? You would have played against Craig Lambert, one of the greats.
I didn't get too close to him on the field. He was a very good player, though, Lammy, wasn't he?
Dual best and fairest winner with Brisbane and the Tigers.
Very
so
good
that's
player.
our Goldie.
Great
Benny
left
Gale
foot.
is going to join us as well. Howie, will stay tuned, mate. Isolation. Doesn't look like he's coping that well, Howie.
No.
He's got
No, I'll do my best. I
looks
only
real
have one
weird.
question. I only have one question. Now
What's
that
that?
Chief and I have done the first segment, this is surely an invoice-style situation, Chief, now that we've participated in the show, wouldn't it be?
100%, mate. 100%.
Good man,
Particularly given the lightweights that we're working with tonight.
That's right.
I mean, they need something with a little bit of gravitas.
Look at Chief.
Oh, mate, come on. You got a couple of garden gnomes outside waiting to come in and join you. How is that going to entertain our Friday night listeners, Howie? I have no crowd to come back to, mate.
Look how
What are you doing with Beat the Chief? What's happening with Beat
We're
the Chief?
missing missing the slaughterhouse tonight, Chief. Is there anything that we can look forward to?
Oh, I think there is a slaughter coming up. Brownie?
Oh, I like it.
Oh.
A
much you like
pre-recorded
that?
style.
Maybe.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I
all
like
right.
that.
And Nate's got a top 5 going, Howie. Get Eric,
Good.
get the big penguin, get them all around the wireless and have a listen to Nate's top 5.
We will be.
That's coming
Stay
up.
safe to you all.
Brendan Gale, good on you. Howie, good on you, Chief. We're thinking of everyone
We
down
done.
there in Bay.
We're out, Chief.
Look at Chief. How happy is he?
Yes! Yeah, folks.
It's about enough, Chief, I reckon. He's happy. He's a short burst man, the Chief.
He is. He's getting loose.
The Listener app is the home of everything Triple M footy.
So this is good for me.
Listen live or on demand.
It just gets better and better.
Just download the Listener app and select Triple M.
We've had some dramas up there on the way to Metricon Stadium. Now, it's about playing your role, Nate, normally on the Friday Huddle. It's not that
Exactly.
hard. We have Damien Barrett here just to tell us the news as it happens. We like him to do that accurately, Damo, from time to time. And
Come
you
on,
told
Damo.
us that there was a delayed start. Then you said, breaking news, get
Nothing
me
to
back
do with
on.
me, Das.
Get me back on. I'll tell you, no, they're at the right start. Now we're back to an 8:05. Now,
Yeah, so it
what
was
is going
7:50,
on?
8:05, back to 7:50. Now it could be 8:10. So I think we might just wait a few moments, but it does now appear to be delayed yet again. These are Melbourne times, obviously. So, yeah, delays on the highway from Brisbane to the Gold Coast for both teams. A police escort for Richmond Footy Club, we believe, and all those announcements, Das, of coming from the AFL itself. So they're back to a delayed start as
Who
we
you
speak.
work for, Damo?
No, not
Surely
work
you
for.
could
Oh,
get
well,
your-
That's your organisation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is. You are the
Are
face
you
of it. Every time you
embarrassed?
walk in there, there's a massive billboard with you and your spectacles.
Yep, and so there should be. And they are, again, just waiting through. Look, this game was meant to be played at the MCG, as we know. Richmond was training at Punt Road Oval yesterday at about 4 o'clock before they had to jump on a plane and head up there.
What we're trying to say is we feel it reflects poorly on you, Damo, and that's the bottom line. We take accountability
that,
here on
yeah.
the Friday Huddle. Hey, Brendan Gale, he's on one of those buses with the Richmond team, the chief executive, former Tiger superstar, Big Benny Gale, so we'll find out exactly what has happened there. But speaking of superstars, there's two of the finest. There's St Kilda champ, Joey Montagna. Welcome, Joey.
Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to be here.
Good to have you on the Friday Huddle. And Daisy Thomas, premiership champion with the Magpies, over 100 games with the Blues. Welcome, Daisy.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me as well. And look, it's just good to know where you stand when you walk into the big Friday Huddle, of course. Chief's called us lightweights. Howie's called us ring in and snorkel. Well, he didn't even just feed Joey and I. You boys tucked into some tucker on the way in. So
He didn't either, did he?
I
might
did
have
want
been-
to ask that. We did all get Nazi Goring, and then I see you two blokes going, we're going to get some dinner.
we had to go downstairs and get our own. So we've been made to feel like genuine shit to start off the show. And it's probably only onwards and upwards from
Well,
here.
don't throw anything underward because he'll miss the dump button as well.
Went down and got some fine McDonald's product from
That
our
was very
sponsors,
good.
is what Daisy and Joey did. Now, Daisy, I think you might have been called a garden gnome as well, somewhere there off the top. Now, you've had a bit of bad luck, Daisy. You told me at the start of lockdown, people were supposed to be tucked up in bed and you had your car broken into.
Yeah, I got in the car, left the house for the first time today to come in here and realised that a couple of the doors were open and all the stuff inside was missing. So not a great start. It was probably on me for not locking it last night. The last time I got back out of the car to
You
go
left it
inside,
open.
well, I was carrying a case of wine. I went to the cellars to do the right thing.
At least you
support
got that out.
Yeah, that's correct. So unfortunately for Tilly, she lost a couple of toys and some clothes, and I lost my Triple M pass. So hopefully they're not listening because they might come in and raid the joint.
It's not really a break-in when you leave the doors open, Daisy. In fair. Now, a little straw poll. Because I got my car stolen last year, came inside, got the keys, Lexus from Lexus of Blackburn, no longer to be seen, and has not turned up. Has never, ever been seen again, that particular car. So a bit unnerving, that, Joey. When,
That would be scary.
It was
Yeah.
a little bit.
My car got broken into twice last COVID, or one of our 5 COVID breaks, and it got broken into twice. And I ended up setting a booby trap
because I knew that someone was walking along the street, going along, checking all the car doors, and I might have left mine unlocked as well. And then I heard a car alarm, so I went and stood in the front window and waited and had a look, and I could see someone walking down the street, checking all the cars. So I jumped in my car, drove down the street, chased them.
I like this. Citizen's arrest.
Yeah, pulled the hoodie off, and it was a female. And she goes, "Leave me alone, I'm just a girl." I said, "Yeah, but you're breaking into cars. I'm calling the police." So I called the police, and I followed her and waited until the police arrived, and I don't know what happened to her because the police said, "Thank you, we'll take care of this." But I was just annoyed that the car got broken into twice.
Well,
opportunistic. We're all inside doing the right thing.
I'll tell you what is extraordinary is that Damien Barrett, you two might know this, but Damien Barrett owns a muscle car. Are you aware of that?
Have you seen
Damien Barrett drive the muscle car?
Photo, yeah.
So all of us, I thought it was a myth. I didn't. And then one day I was in the car park and you're blowing my eardrums apart. What is it? A sort of American muscle car, Damo? What are you rolling with?
You know what it is, Darcy. You talk about it every second week, or this idiot does next to me.
Camara?
Yeah.
But you park it on the street. You park it on the street. Yeah, you're okay with it on the street.
Oh, let's bring more attention to it.
This
Tell them what the rego is, Joey, and where I live. And
this is the great miracle that car is still with Damo. That it hasn't been.
Is there any coincidence that there was a muscle car seen down at Albert Park Lake 2 days ago, driving quite sharpish, and then there was a police car there not long after that, Damo?
I don't know what you're referring to, Brady, but is there any coincidence on the same day you might have been spotted at the State Library?
Yeah, Damo did some of his best acting the other day. We had to go down to the Albert Park Lake.
Was it acting, was it?
Yeah, it was acting. So look out in a couple of weeks' time for Damo's acting. It's unbelievable.
Damo doing some acting with the muscle car.
With the muscle car.
And what were you doing out at the State Library, can I ask? Because it's not a natural habitat for you.
He's a poet. He's a poet, so maybe it was.
Just doing a few things, Duke. Just doing a few things for the Sunday Footy Show. So a couple of weeks away, but Damo's acting.
Secretive, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Can't wait for that.
Looking forward to
that. Nate at the State Library.
Damo doing some wow. Strap yourselves in.
Not quite Daisy and Hooter type stuff, is it?
You'll get your own show.
I haven't caught that one yet.
You're still under chompers, remember that.
Yes, I am.
My experience with the State Library, Daisy, is that all the Zoom action that was happening last year, and we're doing breakfast radio, and our tech guru came to my house. He said, "Your backdrop's not up to standard. I'm going to fix it for you." And I didn't realise you could do a virtual background. Now, he has chosen the State Library, so I turn up on Zoom and the State Library's behind me. Now, I don't know how to change it, how to fix it. So that the first ever time I appeared at the Bulldogs board meeting, there is the State Library. Now, I couldn't get myself in. All you could see was the State Library. They're going, "Who's that at the State Library?" I had to come on and say, "I've actually never been to the State Library, but that is my backdrop, and it has remained there, Damo. So if you could come around and sort that out,
oh yeah,
that would be appreciated if that's the case."
So this is the same board member that got out of a helicopter in the middle of the Whitten Oval.
Yeah, and the same board member that, as a player, knocked out his best mate behind play.
Yeah, from behind.
From behind.
King is
just turning into a roast all of a sudden. It's going back over the old ground.
These two guys are flying, Dust, too, on the Wednesday rub with Duck and myself. These two guys.
Really?
Flying.
What sort of material are they bringing on Wednesday? Because they haven't brought a lot tonight. Fair to say, yeah, Damo.
Oh, he's delivered a citizen's arrest for us tonight, Joey.
I only got the call up this afternoon.
Yeah. And Nath reckons he's going as well as anyone in the game, don't you? With the commentary?
We're battling for conversation tonight, aren't we? All right, Duke. All right. What do you got for us, Duke? You seem to be nodding your head a fair bit over there.
They're talking into my ear at the moment. We're going to cross down to ground level in a moment, catch up with Belinda Miller and find out what's happening. As we said, there has been a little bit of drama heading to Metricon Stadium. But what is the actual latest? Are we starting on time? What delayed start to this game?
Yeah, back to a delayed start. Well, that was the last missive released by the AFL. So, again, we'll speak to Brendan Gale pretty soon to get the full details on that. But there's a raft of changes even to this weekend's game, Star. So I don't know whether you want to go to that now or you're waiting for...
What we might do is get down to Belinda. I think he's ready to go at ground level and give us the eyewitness account. Belinda, welcome to you. Great to have you part of the Friday huddle and Triple M footy on a Friday night. Are the teams there? Are they going to play on time?
Well, can I just say, gentlemen, I wish I was at ground level right now. Left home at 4 o'clock. It's generally a casual 1 hour drive down to the Goldie. I thought I might get a bit of a sun on the way. You never know. 26 past 6 and I am still driving. I've averaged about 25 kilometres per hour on the way. There's been traffic bumper to bumper, and my understanding is that both teams are stuck on their buses in this horrendous traffic. To make matters worse, there has been a gas explosion at Robina, which is right next to Carrara, of course, the home of Metricon, and there is all sorts of chaos unfolding there as well. So at the moment, I was heading down here for a 7:50 start. I believe we're now happening at 8:05. Hopefully I'm only about 15 minutes away, but who knows right now? The world seems to be spinning on the axis of chaos.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now, was there a police escort provided for one of the buses? That's one of the reports we're hearing.
Well, all I can tell you is that off in the distance, not too far ahead, there is a cattle truck and some flashing lights. So I'm hoping that the team bus is with those flashing lights and not in the players aren't in the cattle truck. But yeah, I believe things have just been spinning out of control here on the Goldie this afternoon, and I'm really looking forward to getting to the ground and finding out what on earth is actually going on. Poor old Jack Rewalt, I mean, you know, maybe he thinks all this is for his 300th. Maybe he thinks all these cars are coming to the ground, and wouldn't that be good? Because you do feel for him, don't you? Like, what a milestone, and hopefully they turn out tonight at Metricon. I have heard that there is a bit of a swell of Tigers supporters coming along to the game, and I certainly hope so, because
thank you, Belinda. We appreciate it. Benny Gale is going to join us, who has still is on the Tigers bus, making his way to Metricon Stadium, so some serious drama tonight.
The biggest names, the biggest games.
How do you like those apples?
Triple M rocks footy.
You're listening to the Friday Huddle from McDonald's and Ream Hot Water. Triple M rocks footy. We had our own drama here with the Friday Huddle. We've crossed down to Barwon Heads. Mark Howard finds himself 14 days of lockdown with some dramas in his part of the world, and the big penguin, his little 9-year-old, at footy training with a close contact. The Chief has never looked happier, fair to say, Damien Barrett. He's had a test that he thinks is going to take 2 weeks, sitting on his couch.
And thankfully, we could only see above his waist on the Zoom call we had with him, thankfully.
Just zooming into Chief's house. It had a fascinating feel about what was going on there. We might talk about that a bit more, but some dramas on the way to Metricon Stadium. We've heard just from Belinda Mellon, who's had a 1-hour drive turn into 2.5 hours, still finding her way down. But we cross, I think, onto the team bus or close to it. Brendan Gale, the Chief Executive, who couldn't have done a better job for the Tigers, is with the team. He's on his way to Metricon Stadium. Benny, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, I'm going well, Luke. Yeah, a little late, but we'll get there.
Where are you at the moment? Are you still on the team bus, and is the game going to start on time?
We've just arrived. We've arrived at Metricon Stadium. The players are about 10 minutes ahead of us. The game has been pushed back to an 8:05 start. That's been confirmed, so we're okay. Look, we had two accidents and a breakdown to deal with on the trip down. It was it turned into a 2.5-hour journey. So it could be worse. We're here. It's a big game. We're relaxed. We're comfortable. Really excited to play.
Given what you've endured now as a club and as an industry over the past 2 years of COVID disruptions, Benny, where's this fit into that?
Oh, look, this is pretty minor in the scheme of things, Damien. It's you know, we sweat the small stuff too much as an AFL community. This is minor. We've dealt with far worse. We're a bit late. We'll compress the preparation a little. You know, the delayed start gives us a little bit of slack. We keep a sense of humour and we get on with it. We'll be fine.
And beyond the game tonight, do you know what your next moves are, be it tomorrow and into round 19?
Yes, mate. Yeah, we'll be on a 10 a.m. flight tomorrow back to Melbourne. I mean, that was always our expectation, and we haven't heard otherwise at this stage. So we'll be returning to Melbourne tomorrow morning.
Smacker, Jack Rewalt plays his 300th game. It's the fourth Tiger to do so. It's a great achievement. Obviously, it was going to be at the MCG on a Friday night. What plans have you had to change to make sure it's a special night for Jack? Obviously, there's a game going on, but I'm sure you want to make it pretty special for him.
Yeah, look, we just about had to change everything, Brownie, to be honest, mate. At 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, we're sort of finalising the preparations for Friday night at the G, and then we get the call and everything turns 180 degrees. But look, Jack's a competitor, and he's a winner, and he had a couple of good chats with him yesterday, and he's had a wonderful week. He's had a week where he can reflect on his achievements and share that with his family and friends, but he wants to win the game. This is a really important game for us, and he's up here, I guess, for the Richmond club family. Fortunately, family and friends aren't here, but he's set. He's ready to go. He wants to win.
Brendan, has Dimmer and the coaching group or even the playing group been able to do something different either this week or in recent weeks just to find a bit of confidence? Have they gone out together as a group? We went 10-pin bowling one year when we were struggling. Have you been able to do anything different just to try and find a bit of confidence or something back in this group?
Look, probably haven't had that luxury. It's been a really short week and made shorter from Sunday into Friday. Made shorter by the trip to. I've just been told to get off the bus, boys, so I'm going to walk and talk. So we didn't have the ability to do too much different. Look, we get a couple of players back. We've had a pretty unsettled lineup. We probably haven't executed as well as we would have liked. So I just think getting a couple of experienced campaigners back and Nankovich and Lambert will change the lineup a little bit. And as I said, it's a big game. It really counts tonight, and we'll be up for the challenge.
Do you almost have to sit back and almost giggle at how quickly the media have come and turned on you guys as a footy club?
Oh, not giggle, but you understand how the media works. I mean, they've got a story, they've got a narrative. I think there's probably a few who've been waiting to write this for a while. But look, we're not playing well. We can play a whole lot better. We know that. We think we know why. There's a whole range of interrelating factors. I think we're in a really strong position as a club. Over the next few years, we've worked hard to give ourselves a strong draft hand and some leverage at the trade table. We've got some exciting kids. We've had some looks at this year. We're really confident about our future.
Now, Benny, you're far too relaxed, far too even, and, just take it all in your stride. So I need to read you this tweet from Jack Riewoldt, who sent out, not only is my 300 game not at the MCG, there was no toilet on the bus, I understand as well, Benny. Now, you left that part out. That creates a bit of drama.
Well, I can actually relate to that, Das, because as I speak, I'm making a beeline right for the small house myself because I've just been told by a security guard I've got to get my mask on properly and talk, so apologies for the muffled sound, but anyway, I'm on my way.
I know you've got to get through that moment, Benny, and then get through the game and get back to Melbourne. Geelong, we believe, has put in at least a feeler to the AFL about moving next week's game from the MCG. It is their home game to GMHBA Stadium. Would you be open to that as a club?
Oh, look, it's really irrelevant what we think. We don't really have any standing in the matter. I would have thought it's their home game. We typically play at the MCG for obvious reasons, for crowds and capacity reasons. I'm not sure how relevant those considerations will be next Sunday. We'll just leave that to the powers that be.
Given Benny's just had 3 hours on a bus and needs to go to the toilet, he's got a mask on. We'll let Benny go, the CEO of the Richmond Footy Club. Thank you, Benny.
Pleasure, guys. All the best.
Brendan Gale, good enough to join us fresh from
fella.
that little bit of drama, but as he said on the scale, Joey, not too much of an issue for the Tigers.
He's pretty relaxed, isn't he?
Handle that pretty
well.
well.
You can see why they handle drama pretty well as a football club. He's like, no big deal. I mean, most other clubs, 2.5 hours on a bus, no toilet. I'd be doing my head in as a player. I'd be getting frustrated.
How he there was people waiting to write these stories about Richmond, but I think they've been unfair on Trent Cotchin. He's had a poor-ish season, and the Tigers are going pretty ordinary, but he's credited as a captain with turning around the whole culture of that football club through his leadership, and all of a sudden he has a couple of bad games, and people want to write him off saying that he's past it, he's gone, he should be retiring now. So I reckon just hold fire on Trent Cotchin.
There's a race, isn't there, to call the demise of the Tigers, call the demise of legendary players. The only ever triple premiership captain in Richmond's proud history. Yeah. That sits pretty nice on the business card. And buys you a little bit of credit, I would have thought, Daisy.
Well, yeah, that was just sort of to the point of asking the question just around them in general. They've been the best side for the last 4 years, and as soon as they have a couple of bad weeks, there's still a chance to make finals. Obviously, a big game tonight, but we just turn on people so quickly and just come for them, and it's unrelenting day in, day out. He's facing up. The cameras are down there. So I think just a little bit of respect is lost from journalism and how we go about it as an industry.
I don't see it that way. I mean, we could have this conversation.
You're the media.
But I mean, you're part of the media. I mean, what are you doing in it? I mean, you've had observations on it. I mean, they are sitting 12th going into a round of footy, having won 3 of the previous 4 grand finals. It's an analysis piece. It's what we do. And it has to be done. You can't ignore the fact they're 12.
You don't have to ignore it, but I think the way and Heaps put it so perfectly. You line up, and as soon as it's there, people are waiting to write the story.
Yeah,
I
don't
feel
know
like the
about that.
narrative around Trent Cotchin has been unfair this year. With what he's done in the game.
Again, who said the nastiest thing that you're referring to there? It's fact that he hasn't played well and he's been injured.
It is,
at
but
the
why
early
do we
in the
need to
season.
jump on him so much? And
Who's
our
jumped?
mate Kane Corns who said that he probably should give the game away.
And that's his opinion. That's his opinion, which I think he's allowed to have as a commentator. I haven't heard that opinion spread too widely.
There's been a few people talking about Trent Cotchin's form and the fact that he's really out of form and maybe he's gone over the hill. He's a 3-time premiership captain, as he said, and I think people are quick to jump on champions, not only in AFL, but in this country in general.
Damien, in America, they do... they get groups together to try and encourage their champions to play on. They try and get, as an industry, to say, could we get another year out of our great... In Australia, our tendency is, who's the first one to chop the legs off great players? And I think it is unsavoury. I think it is disconcerting. And I don't think
outside of Kane Corns, and I respect Kane's opinion. Outside of that, I don't know where this narrative's coming from. Totally.
I've read a lot of it.
Who?
I don't commit a lot of these people's names to memory.
You don't read a lot of media as a real dust. You openly and say that proudly.
Because a lot of people's thoughts I don't. No,
but if we're going to discuss it, let's get specific.
If I had a name, I would. But I'm just saying, in general, my feel is that at the moment, Trent Cotchin's wearing an unnecessary amount of heat for a player that's got so much credit in the bank over a long period of time.
My feel is we're skewing the two stories. I think the Damo's right. We're all commenting on Trent Cotchin's form, and he's looking slow, he's looking out of form, and that's fair on his football this year. But I don't think there's too many people saying that he should retire and this is his last year of football. I think that's where we've got to separate the two stories and not combine them into the one, because that's sometimes where the narrative gets blown out. Like I think we've seen.
But as an industry, do you think we wind up great players too early? Do you think that's something we do?
I think we have, and I think that we should. Well, there are some that still do, and I think we've got to be better. I mean, look at Taylor Walker. I think the same people wrote Taylor Walker off and said that he was absolutely cooked, and he's been an he will be an All-Australian this year.
Tom Hawkins 2 years ago.
David Mundy was. I think we're learning to as an industry, and I'm an advocate. No, so is Daisy. We should be keeping our champions and our veterans on for an extra year.
And that's the point I'm making. Is
Kate Simpson. Carlton would do anything to have Kate Simpson on their list this year.
But the clubs make the call on these players. I mean, the media can talk about it. If the clubs want to say, hey, we'll make a decision on the future of a player, that's still able to happen.
But you don't think the media's got influential over boards and over members? And of course it is. I don't think it would with you,
Das. I think I know you well enough to know you would have your opinion on any topic outside of what media is telling you to do. I know you well enough
to know that you would be the same, but I think it is a unnecessary and disconcerting thing here we do in our game. We have these great players who it seems to be a sport to call their end. And
they're going for a third flag in a row, a fourth in 5 years. And as we speak tonight, and I'm intrigued about tonight's game. I want to see what happens tonight, but they're sitting 12th. It's a good story. That's
of course
the story goes.
Of course it is.
Is it just too negative to you? Is it the Tigers are falling off their perch? They've been fantastic, but it's time for someone else to have a go. Why do we have to kick them and go? This great era is over.
I don't think we're kicking them. I can only talk for myself. I don't think the media's kicking them.
I think your version of a kicking is different to other. Damo just gets his eye in the morning and then warms up a bit later in the afternoon. We'll take a break, Damo, on that note. We have to agree to disagree on that one. He's got a little bit shirty tonight, Damo, hasn't he?
He's grumpy.
He just had you and his
I think we all forget we are all media. And we refer to those as like you and the media. Say something.
The light and the dark side.
Yeah.
Now you can stream every AFL match live with Triple M Footy.
People all around us getting excited.
Just download the Listener app and select Triple M.
So, Joey, the analogy I use is Damo's had a poor year, hasn't broken a story for a long while. We give him credit because, some time ago...
Because he's been good for 10 years,
a long time
15
ago.
years.
So we don't pile in and say it's the end of Damien Barrett. We'll move on anyway. From McDonald's, I'm Ream Hot Water, Triple M.
And I wasn't going to say, but we're missing Howie too at the moment.
Listen to the Friday. He's got a nasty edge to him, hasn't he?
Has he gone with his Essendon story yet? What?
Oh, hang on.
Which one's that?
I don't know. Chance to get back up the top here.
Daisy in a moment. It's time now, though, for something we look forward to every Friday night on the Friday Huddle.
He's a self-proclaimed footy superstar.
I reckon I was probably the most influential player in the AFL.
He fears nothing and no one.
This is all off-air stuff that you're not allowed to talk about on air, but I've gone with it anyway.
And he sees the world a little differently.
Just watching a Komodo dragon eat a monkey.
This is Nathan Brown's Top 5.
Duke, I was watching the Euros the other night in the morning, and I was watching it with the sound down because everybody else was asleep, and it wasn't quite capturing me. And I figured that when you do watch great sport, you need sound and you need commentators. And you think about any sport you watch, any moment, any AFL game, if everything just didn't have any sound, the commentators make it better. So the feats that guys like us come up with out in the field, not you, Damo, and then it's commentated on, it just makes it all the more better. So I've come up with some great moments and how the commentary has made those moments even better or appreciated the moment. So obviously everybody knows about the Anthony Hudson one with Nick Davis, so I wanted to go outside that, but I thought I'd give an honourable mention to Stephen Quartermain first of all, because I thought this is probably just about the best call in history, but this is honourable mention.
Cox throws it onto the left. One last roll of the dice for the Eagles! Leo Barry, you star!
And quite often we get the special comments guys jumping over the top, but that moment was just left for Stephen Quartermain. So he's number 5, and I think Sandy Roberts is probably the best commentator. I've got 2 for Sandy here because he can do the light and the shade. So here he is calling a massive moment at the MCG with Gary Ablett Sr. many, many years ago.
As Burke leaves the ground, Ablett couldn't take the mark. Oh, he's a light, Gary Ablett. Look at this. Here is the magician at work. He shoots towards goal. What more can you say?
Perfect from Sandy Roberts.
Sandy.
That is the football call. But then the theatre and the colour at the SCG.
Oh, there's a pig on the ground. There is a pig at full forward. He won't catch him. Well, I wonder how far we've got to go back to see when time on was allowed for a pig on the ground. He's just drifting into the right full pocket now. A dash back towards full forward. That was exciting.
26 seconds out of a pig.
Now I get the feeling this is building to something, Joe.
You reckon there's a catch in this?
Feels like there's something coming.
You reckon there's a whack coming, do you?
It feels like it. But anyway, I love Sandy. So far, so good. Don't go down the Damien negative path.
Don't think the worst of me, Duke. I'm a very positive man. I went back, and Anzac Day's a massive day, and I thought BT made this David Zaharakis moment unbelievable.
Handball over the top here. Here it comes, Lovett Murray. He's found the target. Zaharakis. An opportunity for Zaharakis. He goes for goal. Zaharakis has kicked it. Zaharakis has kicked the goal. Essendon hit the front.
Jesus!
Essendon in front. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it, Brian.
What is going on?
So we've always heard the Channel 10 one, which Q called obviously again, but I thought that not many people go back and hear the Triple M call, so I thought that was a ripper.
Spud at his best too there, Brownie, on special comments.
All over the top. You couldn't hear anything. The Spud was yelling. Now I'm going to go to a grand final, Joey, and I thought this moment, maybe things could have been different, but I thought Dennis Cometti got this perfect.
Calling for the football. Schneider. Will he give it to Revolt? He will. Revolt runs in. Touched up the boot. Oh, my goodness. Can you believe that? Wonderful chase by Heath Shaw. He came up behind him like a librarian. He never heard him.
It's a great line.
The great Dennis Cometti.
Have you ever asked Rui what he was thinking? On that one, or
geez, he went with the long ball drop, didn't he?
Yeah, he thought he was open in the goal square and was going to kick it into the third tier.
Come on, Rui. Okay, so then there's footy, then there's all sorts of things around footy and entertaining calls, and I don't think there's any better than JB to sum up a situation.
Oh, there's a dust on in the middle.
Oh, 3 on 1.
Oh, 3 or 4 are starting to get involved.
Push up.
Push up. Push up. He's decked him. He was twice his bloody size. Look at push up go. That's what he's in the side for, Gary.
He's still going through.
Look at little Jake the Snake.
And the number one, I've gone outside footy here because I wanted to do Bruce. I think Bruce is, easily the best commentator we've had in this country in footy,
and the
racing,
Olympics very soon too, Browning.
And I went back 21 years to this great call.
Into the slate, Graham leads. Freeman runs up to her. Mary inside. Kathy lifting. Goes up to Graham. Takes the lead. Looks a winner. Draws away from Graham and Mary. This is a famous victory. A magnificent performance. What a legend. What a champion.
was an amazing effort, and if you're sitting there, well, like I was the other night watching the Euros with no sound on, it's still a great moment, but Bruce, I thought, just elevated that moment back in 2000 for Kathy Freeman.
Very nice top five all round, Nate. Beautifully delivered.
It was, Duke, but then I realised that we didn't have a Chief Slaughterhouse tonight, and the Chief wanted to get involved, and this is what he brought to the table.
Brownie Chief here. I know we weren't able to do a slaughterhouse tonight, but your top five was unbelievable, mate. And it just happened to include one of the greatest slaughters of all time when a young man's life was completely destroyed. Young James Madden, an Irish boy playing for the Lions, kicks his first goal in league football, and it gets butchered by Duke. I mean, it was just negligent, incompetent. It was basically disgraceful. What is one of the most memorable, defining moments in a young player's career, knifed by the Duke, destroyed, ruined forever. Well done, mate.
Sure where he was aiming there. Well, the Irishman, I told you, is quick. Look at the jet-propelled speed. Madden, the Irishman. What about that? He was...
That's his...
Duke's lost it.
Absolute cracker from Madden will help him out. His second career goal on the run at speed. They come from everywhere. In fact, it's his first goal, if you don't mind, from Jimmy Madden.
Did he butcher his first goal? Then how he called it his second goal. He's sending that audio back to Ireland to his family, and they're going to go, "Who is this halfwit calling my son?" And then coughing everywhere.
Mate, I had to have the Heimlich manoeuvre to get me through that, Joe. That was a near-death experience. I just choked and I thought I was going under.
He hasn't played
How
again.
we butchered that was his second goal. I was building to something special there, Joey. Could you feel it?
I felt it, and then it felt like you handed over to Howie to call it, and it wasn't quite there. Have you had a moment, Brownie? Have you got, like, where's your moment as a commentator?
No, I haven't had it yet, Joey. You just
Joe?
hope that when it does come up, like the Stephen Quartermain, Leo Barry thing, that you do nail it. So you want them to nail it. So maybe it'll come up tonight, late, Duke, and I hope I'll be calling that moment after you've passed off to me.
You're calling this year, Joey, as well on the M's. Have you had your moment?
I did. I had a moment. I had the Zach Bailey when he kicked the match-winning goal against Collingwood at round 3. I was calling the goal and celebrated, and it was a nice moment.
Was that when Duck was all into it and over the top of you and
us
and Duke?
Chimed in as well, Darcy. He went with the. I think the siren's gone. We said, "Yeah, we heard the siren. This is my moment." Excuse me, Das. Somehow it fell into my lap and had the moment.
You can go back and recall it. Some people have got the opportunity to do that.
You've done that, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have. I've heard you.
We're getting some calls through 13353 saying, "Let's go back a week ago." Nate Brown in the calling chair. Have a listen to this.
Thought he might have been tunnelled there, Myercroft. Myer check.
It's a good news story these days, Dave. People are pretty forgiving when you pulls one up. You get a name wrong, no one gives you any feedback at all these days at all. But very nice, Nate, indeed. But the pressure's on, Joey. You're out there in the calling chair at the moment.
It is. You don't think about it, do you? You don't necessarily plan it, but you're right. We could almost recite every one of those lines of those commentators that you played then, because they are such iconic moments, and you do need to get it right if something significant happens in the game.
How are you going, Joey, as the junior member of the calling team, whichever one you're in now, given you're starting out in the caper, and the politics that goes with it, and who has the mic for the start of the game and the end of the game, and most crucially,
where are you going, Damo, with this?
I'm just keen to know how the dynamic works, Brownie.
I'm learning. You play your role. When you're the junior burger, you just hand over to the big dogs, and you allow them to do as much time as they like or as little time as they like, and you just wait for your tone. So I'm learning.
Do you put the stopwatch on?
I haven't done the stopwatch. I haven't got my wife to do the stopwatch.
Like Duke did a couple weeks ago.
I got the stopwatch
with Jason Bett.
That was me, was it? Because that'd be how I would roll. It's
you had 37.26% of game time alongside the 60.
So what you don't understand is the
2% that Jason.
The more that you share it around, it's a team performance day, mate. The better it sounds, the more voices you're getting.
More specials than Richo too.
Triple M rocks footy.
And what about this?
Yes, McDonald's and Ream Hot Water. This is the Friday Huddle. Joey Montagna, Daisy Thomas, our special guest on the Friday Huddle. No Howie, no Chief. Haven't missed them too much, Nate, it's fair to say.
Not at all.
It's been a pretty solid edition so far.
Chief
Friday. of the Friday Huddle. Damien Barrett is with us as always. So, Damien, what's making news tonight?
Paddy Cripps is an out for Carlton, guys, for their game against Collingwood on Sunday. We know he's had a battered couple of weeks, hasn't he? He had the foot soreness, which was scanned, and then he spent a bit of time in the ruck yesterday. So, and it was you, Brownie, I must admit, last Sunday, suggesting to Carlton they should rest him.
I don't see any reason why Paddy Cripps would play the rest of the season. I think he's a superstar, most marketable player at that footy club. I know Sam Walsh is probably playing the best footy. They just signed him for 6 years. Now, they want to get the best out of him for 6 years. I think Carlton are building, hopefully, a premiership list. They've got a really good spine. Why he'd be putting Paddy Cripps out there week after week when he clearly looks sore? He's clearly playing injured. They're putting him out in the ruck, which I just don't understand. 100% fit, yeah, you could throw him in the ruck, but I just see no value playing.
I haven't seen him play.
No value playing the rest of the season.
6 incidents last week where he took a ruck.
It's around the ground, though.
It was forward 50.
Yeah, so he does it forward 50 if he's getting tagged, if someone's sitting on him. So I think it was O'Connor last week to get the instant and metre separation, got a bigger body.
That's a fair tactic.
Which is get him right for next year.
Bounce, I wouldn't have
No, get him right for next year.
He's someone, though, that you could not tell him, you've got 6 weeks left and you're not playing.
Yeah,
He would not have it. He's a competitor. He's someone who wants to lead by example, and his best way of leading, he feels, is being out there, whether he's beaten up or not, and that's him. He doesn't give a stuff. If he's injured, he will go out there and try and do his best for the team.
Given you played with him, are you witnessing this year as someone who is banged up?
I think he's certainly playing not to his best, but again, yeah, he is banged up. We know that his back's been crook. He's had knees, feet now as well. The game's hard enough to play when you're at 100%.
Yep.
So for him to be out there, and again, he's shouldering the load, which has meant the path that Sammy Walsh is now walking is so much easier. If Paddy Cripps wasn't there, we saw against the Giants, when De Boer went to Walsh, he had his worst game of the season, got sat on, couldn't get near it. Paddy Cripps still arguably the most influential player in that midfield, the hardest one to tag. They still send tags to him like Geelong did on the weekend. Sam Walsh has 36 possessions and kicks 2, so no doubt he's not playing his best, but what he's doing for the team is still unbelievable.
Yeah. Joey, Charlie Curnow, round 13, 2019, kicked 7 goals, a career best. 2 weeks later, went down with a knee, has not been seen because of that knee and other knee issues since. Was going to have a moment of return for a VFL hit out on the weekend, and now, with COVID hitting Melbourne again, no VFL this week. It's as unfortunate a situation for that individual as there's been with any impact to come out of this lockdown 5.
Absolutely. Yeah, you would love to get him a couple of games and then play him the last 3 or 4 games of this year just to build his confidence up, just to let the fans know that he's still there and see what he can produce next year as basically a brand new recruit to, as you said, Brandy, already a pretty solid list that they're building there next year. So, yeah, that's a shame. We're not sure how long the VFL will be out of action for. That's unfortunate, but he's got to have some games in the VFL before he even gets a look in at AFL level. So we might not see him this year.
He and Harry are going to form a really good forward line, aren't they? Because Harry's a very good straight-up operator and can take a big mark, where Curnow's got some really good lateral movement, so they're going to complement each other really well.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate, isn't it? Because you go back to that 2015 draft and they took McKay, Wiedering, and Curnow and Silvani as a father-son, who are all contributing. It's a good draft, isn't it? And they haven't had anywhere near the contribution they would have wanted to from probably the most exciting player of those 3. The other 2 have been very good, don't get me wrong, but Curnow's the X factor, isn't
Still reckon they're a star midfielder short as well. I know Sammy Walsh has become a star. Paddy Cripps is already a star. But outside that, it drops away dramatically. Ed Curnow's probably at the back end of his career. I mean, it'd be great to have him 5 or 6 years ago. But outside those 2, I don't see who's the next in line at Carlton who can make them a really deep midfield.
Okay. They're after Chera too in that conversation potentially for movement. Just on Carlton too, Sergio Silvani, for those who haven't caught up with it, passed away on Thursday, aged 83. A famous Carlton name in his own right, and the surname obviously became even bigger beyond his own contribution, which was as a 2-time premiership player, a captain of the football club, a 2-time best and fairest winner. Obviously Stephen becoming the fullback of the century, and Jack still putting together a very nice AFL career.
Yeah, and Sauce being son of Serge. That is where Sauce clearly got his nickname from, and what a legacy the great Serge Silvani, and the Silvani name at Carlton doesn't get any bigger.
No, it's the Kennedys and the Silvanis in terms of a 3-pronged approach to the AFL footy, and take your pick as to which families had the most impact. Look, a lot of changes yet to be signed off on officially, but as we talk, there's going to be changes even to this round of football. So St Kilda and Port Adelaide will, as they are of the belief that game will be moved from the night time to the early slot. Hawthorn and Melbourne will be moved to a later slot. Again, this is all to be confirmed, so just await official confirmation on this. But the Dogs and the Gold Coast will stay in that twilight slot, but Hawthorn and Melbourne move to the later slot to basically fill the position that St Kilda and Port Adelaide was in. So that's all yet to be playing out, but it just goes to show that within 24 hours of some of these games being scheduled, we're still yet to get official confirmation on where it's at.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm calling the Port Adelaide St Kilda game, so what time do you think that game's going to be? I need to organise my day.
It could well be the 1:45
Really?
start, yes.
You're in lockdown, Joe.
Yeah.
You can't do too much.
No, there's not much I'm doing anyway, but it'd be nice if we could find that one out.
It's funny, isn't it, Das? I mean, 2 years ago, clubs, because we didn't have a lot in the world to complain about, we're often whinging. I shouldn't say whinging, just observing sometime being asked to play 2 consecutive 6-day breaks. That was the biggest problem a club may have had. Now you've got a situation where Richmond's been forced to move this game yesterday at the shortest of short notices, and then to be even delayed again 15 minutes as we speak tonight. There's nothing that they're not conditioned to now.
And what I love, Damo, out of it, we've got the rolling fixture, which has to be here to stay, surely, to be able to get the time slots that we want. And the adaptability of the players has been extraordinary. Yes, Nate?
Certainly has. No late changes tonight, Duke. Jack Ross is going to be the injury sub, and Tom Berry for the Brisbane Lions.
The biggest names, the biggest games.
Shouldn't be allowed to kick the ball, Ruckman.
Triple M rocks footy. The Friday Huddle's cult hero of the week is a man who wore long sleeves in 219 games at the highest level.
See what Craig Lambert can do. Runs round the man on the mark. 40 metres out and he bangs another nail in the Collingwood.
He's a dual-bested fairest at both Richmond and Brisbane, as well as being a 1996 All-Australian. Please welcome Lambo, Craig Lambert.
A cult hero, one of the absolute greats from the Tigers, won the best and fairest at Jack Dyer Medal in 1991, and the Brisbane Bears club champion 1994, an All-Australian, and one of the great people in football, much loved, and has had enormous influence over many young players, particularly the young GWS boys in recent times. And he's been good enough to join us from lockdown, Lambo, at the moment in Sydney, sitting in your son's bedroom, we believe. Great to catch up with you, mate.
Great to be on board, Triple M. I'm looking forward to it, guys.
Tell us about what you're doing at the moment. Clearly, Sydney's locked down and you're back with the Giants boys. You must be missing them because it looks like they're going to be here in Melbourne or away from home for some time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I went back this year, Das, in a part-time role, and I've got to thank Dave Matthews and Jason McCartney. I mean, give me an opportunity to go back to a club that I really love. Obviously, I was away for 5 years. So it's a bit hard at the moment. You know, they've been moved from Melbourne to Queensland, like a lot of clubs at the moment. I think the AFL are doing a magnificent job trying to keep the season alive. But I also do my corporate role, which is a Fujifilm upstream. Been doing that now for 2 years. Really fortunate in a way that our CEO, Scott Crosby, gave me a chance a couple of years ago when I probably didn't know what I was going to do after 30 years in football, and really loved it at Fujifilm. The support I've got from the whole team's been amazing. So at the moment, it's a pretty good balance. I'd love to be with the players in Queensland and try and help out, but I'm stuck here in Sydney.
How tough has that role been with the GWS boys? Obviously, when you took over, there was a lot of young kids there, a lot of them moving away from home, from family. They love you, everyone to a man. How do you go about building those relationships, and how tough was that?
Yeah, Daisy, it was always. I mean, the lucky thing that we probably had was that we had a clean slate to work with. I mean, it's sort of, we had these 17, 18-year-olds, probably 50 of them, and I think with that building relationships, it's important from top to bottom. We had Sheeds, who's just an amazing person in regards to relationships. We had Gubby, who had gone through obviously Brisbane Lions, who were the Brisbane Bears once, who won 3 in a row. So we had the right people, I believe, early on. But in regards to relationships, all you guys, you've all played the game. If you're not genuine, I think players and families see through that. And one of the great things I think the Giants did, and this was off the bat, was we always said that we're not going to draft a player, we're going to draft a family. And we're going to take that family through the whole journey. And that's uncles and aunties, brothers and sisters, some really close friends that have been mentors for these young athletes that have had to move states. So we really committed to that. And in those early days, we were able to keep a lot of players.
Craig, you had a great career at two footy clubs, and clearly hearing you talk and knowing what other people say about your involvement with GWS puts them into that also category of you loving that club. Where's your heart lie?
I knew you'd ask me that, Damo. It's probably, it's a really hard one. To start a club from scratch with the Giants is pretty special. Not many people get a chance to do that. I had an amazing time at Brisbane, even though I didn't want to go there in 94 when I left the Tigers. I was hoping to get to North Melbourne, and Brisbane Bears picked me up, and it was through that premiership era, and obviously I was coach. I didn't play in that era, but saw some young kids, like Voss and Lappins and Leppages and Luke Powers and Blacks, just to name a few, come through, and so that was a really special time as well. But Richmond, I suppose, Richmond Footy Club gave me the opportunity, Damo, when I didn't play Teal Cup. I tried out at South Melbourne. I tried out at Western Bulldogs when I was about 17, 18. And a kid from Dandenong, Richmond gave me a chance. Doug Searle, my under-19s coach, was just an amazing mentor for me, pushed my case really hard, told me to handball more than I kicked, which was a smart move because I wasn't a great kicker, as you guys would know. And then I got a chance to play seniors, and Kevin Bartlett, who was just an amazing friend, amazing mentor, backed me in. So if you had to push me, I'd probably still say Tigers.
Yep.
Where did you play your best footy, Lambo? Because you look at your stats, you won a best and fairest at both clubs. You were actually only 4 games short of playing 100 at Brisbane as well as 100 at Richmond. And if you had have done that, you would only be one of, I think, 6 players in history that would have won a best and fairest at 2 clubs and played 100 games at 2 clubs. Where would you have said you played your best football?
Yeah, Joey, it's a real tough one because the Richmond days. Obviously, I idolised Dale Waitman. He was just a amazing player, and Flea started to get a little bit old, and I started to come on the scene. And as we know, they don't do it that often these days in regards to the modern game, but I started to get tagged a hell of a lot.
What's that?
Yeah, I have to joke sometimes to my kids, my 3 boys, when a player averages 35 touches over 10 weeks and he gets tagged and he starts to complain. I'm thinking, I'd love to see in the 80s and the 90s, but I mean, you had Richmond was. Yeah, you probably your first 2, 3, 4 years, as you know, you guys who've played the game, it's like an apprenticeship. You really just you're seeing how good you can be. Richmond was struggling as a club. It was really hard. 19, 20, 21-year-old being tagged every week. But I thought I played some reasonably good footy at the Tigers. But when I got to Brisbane, it was I was 25 years of age. When the Vosses and the Blacks and the Lappins started to come through. I remember in 96 when I won All-Australian, it was bizarre actually. I mean, I probably only got tagged 11 times out of the 22 rounds, and I was running around thinking, how easy is this to get a kick? I mean, it was laughable that there was no stress before games. You just knew that you'd probably get 30, 35. So in answering your question, Joey, I probably think I played the better footy at Brisbane, but it was for a shorter period because I started to break down about 28, 29.
Lammy, you played state footy in probably arguably the greatest era, 89, 90, 91, 92. What are your recollections of that and playing with some of the great players through that period?
Well, it was amazing, Brownie. As I said, I wasn't lucky enough to play state footy as a kid. And I think it was in 89 I actually got my first opportunity, second year of league footy, to play against Western Australia at in Perth. And, I'll never forget it. I sort of like it. It's chills now to even think about, you're playing with all these superstars that you've idolised your whole life. I was lucky enough I had Dale Waitman who sort of helped me get through that process and all that. A funny story is that, that I actually had to pick Flea up from his house on the way to the airport. And I got there a little bit late and the traffic was horrendous going to Tullamarine. And we were about 40 minutes late for the flight. And Flea just said to me, first game, he said, "Now, Lambo, I want you to shut your mouth and leave EJ to me," right? And I said, "I'm not saying a word," right? So as soon as we walk into the airport, EJ walks straight over because he's fuming because we're 40 minutes late. And Flea just says, "EJ, just settle down, would you, mate? We're right. We've got plenty of time. We've got 30 minutes before the plane sort of boards." And then all of a sudden, I look over to my right, and there's Chief, there's Dermy, and Langford. They're walking in 15 minutes after me with not a care in the world. And here I am worried about, I've finally got picked for the Mighty V, and I'm going to be sacked before the game starts because I've got there too late from the airport. So it was quite intimidating, the old EJ, but I got a chance to play that game, and it was phenomenal to play state footy during. I think I played 7 games, and to be able to play with some of your heroes and all that, and feel that you're good enough to play state footy, it's pretty special.
The great Craig Lambert is our cult hero of the week this week. Brilliant to hear the voice of Lammy, who's doing some brilliant stuff. I want to go back to GWS quickly, Lammy, and talk about your influence there. I think I look at the GWS as the latest expansion club, being a grand final winning team, winning finals regularly, maybe not being respected for how amazing a job it has been to build that club. Do you think perhaps it hasn't been recognised what a success it's been so far? Memberships and even the off-field financial performance has been better than you probably could have hoped for.
Yeah, Dars, it's a good question. It's unless you've lived in the northern states, and obviously since I was 25, I was at Brisbane and obviously moved to GWS Giants. But unless you've lived in the northern states, you really don't know how hard it is to build a team. I think what the Giants have done, there's been some amazing people along the journey, but to be able to, obviously last year wasn't a great year in the hub for the club, but to play in 4 final series and get to 1 grand final after 6-7 years of existence, I think it's been a pretty special effort. It's an ongoing effort because, as we know, I'm a Melbourne boy, proud Victorian, but the Victorian clubs are always preying on the northern states, try and get talent back to home Victoria. It's for me. I was away for 4 or 5 years, and I'm back now. My wife works there full time, but I think the club has done an amazing job with membership, with building a club from scratch. We started off at Rudy Hill RSL Club. We had no infrastructure. We had nothing. All we did was we had each other, and we built the whole club on care and connection. And obviously, as a player, they have to sort of buy to the values of the club. But to see the club over the last 8, 9, 10 years, I think it's been a pretty special effort. And I think sometimes Victorians don't really understand how tough it is, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Hey, Craig, just a quick one, and there's not an easy answer to this one, and sorry to throw it in you late. All the players you played with, both at Richmond, Brisbane Lions and Bears, and now have worked closely with at GWS, they're all on the wall. You got one pick.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's hard in a way, but it's easy. I mean, Michael Voss was just he's a special individual. There's so many. There's probably another 6 or 7 that are probably unlucky to be second, third, fourth. But I mean, the way that Michael Voss could not only play the game, could sense the moment when we needed to lift, could lead the team. Obviously, Damo, the great sides, they all have different personalities. And we had an amazing coach in Lee Matthews, who I learnt so much from, and he's a great friend of mine. But Vossi he had everything in spades. He was the hardest trainer. He was the one that sort of would get us out of trouble when we needed something big, when players were a little bit surly or they weren't happy with positions they were in and all that, which players can get, as we know. He was the one that calmed the waters and all that. So,
hey, Lammy, I hate cutting you off. We've got 10 seconds to go, so I've got to get to a break. The great Craig Lambert, Michael Voss, very hard to go past him. What a champion, Craig Lambert.
Thanks,
our
mate.
cold hero of the week. Great to catch up with you.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Triple M Rocks Footy.
The Listener app is the home of everything Triple M footy.
It is magnificent.
Listen live or on demand.
That's the gold you don't get anywhere else.
Just download the Listener app and select Triple M.
We're going to go back to Metricon Stadium. Belinda Mellon joins us, who had her own dramas driving up to the stadium. It was an hour drive, you told us. Belinda, how long did it take you to get there in the end?
Yes, I've made it 2 hours 45 on the dot. Last Saturday I made it here in 50 minutes, and just an extension of 2 hours for me. So yeah, no problems at all, really. I tell you, it's a funny feeling when you finally get to this ground. You think Jack Rewald's 300, that's going to be enormous. Well, I think the crowd are still stuck in traffic as well. You finally get here, you sit down. The players are still scrambling to warm up. They're sort of coming out in dribs and drabs. The medical subs were really late coming out as well. I asked the media officers of both teams, when's your medical sub coming out? They said, look, we just don't know at the moment. We're still scrambling. The Lions got here at 6. The Tigers were closer to 7 o'clock when they got here. So everyone's sort of still catching their breath. So who knows what is going to unfold in tonight's game. Another interesting thing that we have to watch for is there are severe wind warnings here on the Gold Coast. Right now it's calm, but in a few hours it's predicted that we will have 30, 40, 50 k/h winds. So it all could unravel again then, particularly at the northern end, the left of your speaker. So watch for goal kicking later in the game. It might get tricky.
Thank you, Belinda. Looking forward to having you on the ground and all over what's happening. So, maybe some swirly conditions a bit later on at Metricon Stadium with the players arriving a bit delayed on the bus, Damo, but we're starting a little bit later than normal.
So many changes. Joey, you were saying before you are assigned through the St Kilda Port Adelaide game, and you weren't. Well, it is official, as we said before. It is now going to be the earlier game, so 1:45 p.m. start tomorrow. That's been brought forward from the night time slot, and to then cover that night time slot, the Melbourne Hawthorn game will go from its initially scheduled slot. That will be now a 7:25 game.
So that'll be Saturday Night Footy on Channel 7, Dave. That's been switched around. That is the BCNA, the Breast Cancer Network of Australia, the Pink Lady game, which is a virtual Pink Lady for Saturday night. So you can...
I think it's $25, I think, isn't it?
Yep. My wife was doing that today, supporting that wonderful cause, so make sure you do that. But that game has been switched around to Saturday Night Footy, Damo.
Just before we move off COVID too, obviously now we're at round 18 and we're still only scheduling in matches on the Saturday of round 18 on a Friday night. Grand final, obviously, late September. There's 4, 5, 6 rounds of footy remaining, but a week after that and then 4 weeks of finals before the grand final. They're about 3 to 4 weeks away from when they have to determine where that game is going to be played. Now, it's in the calendar for MCG, but...
You've still got doubts, don't you, Damo?
Well, you have to have doubts, Brownie, because even up until last week, there was only a 40,000 capacity at the MCG. This week, there's a 0 capacity at the MCG. If we're fortunate enough to come out of lockdown this week or next week, whenever it's going to be, history says we don't go back to what we had before we went down. So it'll be a gradual build-up to that. The runway's getting shorter and shorter. Even if it's around 22, 23, and we're only back up to 40%, I don't think 40% of the MCG crowd is going to be enough for the AFL to lock off on it. I think they want a venue, and there are other venues around the country that allow 100% capacity. I think they're still in play, is what I'm trying to say.
So when do they have to make a decision? Can they make a decision 2 weeks out? Can they make a decision 3 weeks out? When's the cutoff?
Look,
because they seem to be able to make decisions on the run at the moment and change games whenever they feel like. Obviously, the grand final is a massive thing.
They've learnt they can do anything, but in order to get in the pre-match, the middle of the match, the post-match functions, entertainment, etc., you're going to need a minimum, Brownie, I would have thought, of 6 to 7 weeks, a minimum, which gets us to the eve of the final series.
So, okay, by the end of the home and away series, they have to make a decision on the on the
round 21,
so right
22.
Now, Damo, if you were going to have a guess, what would be...
the safe guess is to still say the MCG, but it's clearly... Look, the conversations are being had. They're not today's conversations. They're probably not next week's, but they will be within a fortnight.
Who's clear second then?
Probably
is it Perth with their hard lockdown rules and the fact that they
that makes it really hard for and given also too there was a snap no crowd edict given only an hour before a game was to start a couple of weeks ago. I think it might be Adelaide,
and they did the Dreamtime game and sold that out in record time,
12 minutes,
and fantastic job. Almost an audition, you would have thought, Joey, that they were showing how well they could showcase a grand final in the West with their new stadium. So you would think they'd push pretty hard, Damo?
Yeah. Just a couple of other stories too. Matt Parker, extraordinary story. 2 seasons on the St Kilda list, Joey. Was cut, went back to the waffle system, played well enough to get his name in conversations for the mid-season draft, got picked up by the Tigers, and tonight goes around for the first time as a Richmond player.
Yeah, just a great story of resilience and never giving up and commitment. He got drafted as a mature age in the first place at St Kilda. Got a lot of talent. He just wasn't able to put it together in that role as a small forward, forward pocket type player. Probably needed to work on that defensive side and the aerobic capacity, but he's gone away. He's played really well back at the Waffle, and now he gets another crack at it. So I wish him well. He's got a young family. He's a terrific fella, and hope he makes a really good fist of it second time around.
Yep. Daisy, we didn't talk too much about last night's game. Geelong did a number on Fremantle. They did it without availability to Jeremy Cameron, Gary Rowan and Mitch Duncan. 3 guaranteed walk-up starts once they get their bodies right. this premiership race is going nicely for them right now.
Yeah, they seem to have gears, don't they? And that was a game where the questions were asked whether Fremantle could knock them off if Geelong were right for the picking. And I think they just have that ability at the minute to find something extra. And when you are a team that's, they started the season slowly, there's no doubt about that, but they know and seem to know exactly what they're doing in terms of prepping for the right time of the year. And you can't, I guess, pick when your injuries are coming, but for them at this stage, it's not really an issue, and it looks like all of those players will be back for the pointier end of the season. So I think we all agree that they are right in that conversation as to probably the first or second favourite now, if the grand final was to be played, as to who would be winning it.
And Brendan, there's been a lot of conversation around who's been the best recruit, and obviously, in my eyes, it's Tom Hickey, but I think Isaac Smith's in the conversation too, isn't he, with what he's done seamlessly.
Had a great year. Tom Hickey's been really good, but I can't discount Nick Hind at Essendon. I think if I had to line them all up, I think Nick Hind's probably had a really big impact. You expected what you were going to get from Isaac Smith, so that's a big tick. You probably didn't expect Tom Hickey to play as well as what he has, and you didn't expect Nick Hind to probably be in contention, maybe even in the talk of the squad of 40 for the All-Australian. That's how good Nick Hind's been.
Yep. Dus, are you confident enough that Port Adelaide can still get it together? I ask because they've now got more unavailability issues for this game against the Saints tomorrow. Rosie Butters, Dersma's already been out, and Motlop's out as well. They've got long-termers in effect to Fantasia and Rockcliffe. Is there chance slipping?
Those first three that you mentioned, Connor Rosie, Zach Butters and Xavier Dersma, I don't think I've seen three players have that positive an impact on a footy club and change Port's fortunes. Before they came to the club 3 years ago, we were concerned about the direction of Port. Were they relevant? They had as big an impact. And all three of them, Rosie's form's been up and down a little bit. Dersma's been out for a long time. I think Butters, Joe, I know you study the game. I think he's got the potential to be in the best 10 players in the competition. That's how good Zach Butters is. So the three of them out has had an enormous negative effect on that group, and I'm not sure what the chance of getting them all fit and healthy before the end of the year is.
And Robbie Gray, he's still one of their most talented players in that forward 50. That's their big issue. That's their Achilles heel. Port Adelaide is still their efficiency when they go inside 50. They're in the bottom 4 in the competition. It seems to be at Charlie Dixon or nothing. If he plays really well, they're a chance. If he doesn't, they struggle. And now without that ground level, that's going to be a big ask for Port Adelaide.
Triple M rocks footy.
Oh, that was tasty.
For McDonald's and Ream Hot Water, this is Friday Footy. Just had the Friday Huddle. Download that on the Listener app. If you missed it, catch up with some of the gold that you heard from Daisy Thomas. We've got Joe Montagna out, the chief. How he is locked down in his house at the moment down in Barwon Heads. Damien Barrett, Nate Brown is with us. And we always, around this time, catch up with the Chew Man in a few moments' time. But there's a sort of stunning new look to the Chews going with at the moment, Nate. You picked it first and foremost. Normally, he's had the same haircut for as long as I've known him, 20 years of the Triple M history.
Genuine swagger about the Chew Man tonight. And I'm looking over, and I just see a big shine coming off his head. He's got extra gel in his hair tonight. It is strong gel. He's also designer beard, like a George Michael type beard. Really sort of just nicely manicured at the moment. Now, I don't know.
What are you thinking, Joey?
And he's a 2-phone operator too.
I was going to say that.
That.
It looks like the second phone operation sort of thing going on here with this real sharp style about you.
I got a haircut during the week. I've been with the same hairdresser since '89, actually, and I said, look, it's time I try and reclaim my youth, as I'm well and truly into the middle-aged category for Red Z. So, thoughts? Does it...
Sort of a bit of a Jake King vibe about him for me, Daisy.
Real push-up. You've gone the sort of fader on the side too. It's very nice.
Blended in 2 and 3.
The designer beard for me.
You like that one?
Yeah, this stats party at the end of the year, he's just trying out some looks.
It's called a fade. True, that's what the kids call it, the fade.
Fade. I've got to get it. Keep up to date with the terminology.
I think you're too old for a midlife crisis, Stu. I think you've gone actually over past that.
I'm 4 months in regards to the midlife crisis stars for Red Z.
Have you had some issues with the refrigeration selling? Is there something going wrong? Because you've been spending a lot of time down in Yarraville lately. I'm not sure what you're up to down there, Jim.
Well, it's funny, since I've had sporting this new hairstyle and designer beard, big day in sales yesterday, Dar, so I'm off to a good start, and I reckon Brownie likes it as well, actually.
I do like it too, and he's very big on the merino wool knit. Every week he comes in and he's got a different version of the merino wool. Tonight he's got a grey number with some lines through it, a couple of buttons, but I reckon he's got a good rig. I've never seen Chew with his the guns out, but I reckon he looks like a fit man.
Been pumping some iron, Chew, as well,
I reckon he has.
Yeah, that too. That goes with the new look, hopefully, Dar. So, some push-ups. Yeah.
Well, Joey, there's a whole heap of concerns. I mean, a man starts a new hairstyle, he's in the gym,
He's,
Rolling too
I don't know.
I think I'm 23 again.
I don't know what's going on, Chew.
He might buy a muscle car next.
For Red Z Lending, that man's celebrating 20 years on Triple M. Two-time day, two-time night premiership statistician with an Ashes as well. Damien Barrett?
Yeah, just speaking about Chew's attire, it does remind me of the night. It would have been 10, maybe 12 years ago, Friday night football. Chew was going through a stage where he's wearing a white singlet, as you did when you went to school, and it was visible this particular night under 3 other layers. And Spud thought it would be funny to take the singlet off, Chew, without taking the other 3 layers off. Good night for you, Chew.
No, well, Spud and Gary, they suggested I should be working at a radio station 2 or 3 boxes down the road, the AM style, as in I'm too young to actually be sporting a singlet at my age. So yeah, Spud.
He somehow got it off you.
Yeah, he ripped it. Basically, almost tore my shoulder socket apart, or detached it actually, Damo, and then threatened to throw me out of the commentary box window as well. On top of that, if I was going to wear it again. So guess what?
Haven't.
I never wore it again. No.
Wearing a Singy Chew with the Triple M box. There you go. Outstanding stuff from the Chew man, who does a ripping job. We've got the Lions out onto Metricon Stadium. We're going to have a big game for the Tigers coming up. Damo, it has been some drama in the lead up to this one. We're going to start slightly late, but plenty of news going around. What else can you tell us tonight?
Yeah, just those changes. The St Kilda Port Adelaide game being brought forward, Das, and look, with that, round 19, which was released earlier in the week, it's effectively going to be torn up and had a look at. The Saints will be leaving to go to Perth straight after that game tomorrow to have a 7-day quarantine period before their next game in Perth. So that's the way it stands. We spoke to Brendan Gale, and his view is that the Tigers will leave as planned tomorrow from Brisbane to return to Melbourne. Interestingly enough, they've got a round 19 game, Joey, against the Cats. That game in the fixture as it speaks is to be played on the Sunday at the MCG. But the Cats have bounced around the idea with the AFL that given there's probably going to be no crowd, that there's no reason that game shouldn't and now probably won't be played at GMHBA Stadium. So changes like that could still be taking effect between now and next week as well.
Does that not just compromise a little bit of the integrity? Because then it goes from being a Richmond home game...
No, it wasn't. No, it actually was a Geelong home game. I should have stated that. Yeah,
okay.
It is a Geelong home game.
Right.
So they'd already
That
agreed
makes
to play
sense then.
there. Yeah, so that integrity. But again, the integrity, I mean, when
Yeah, I know, it's
GWS
hard
was
to-
forced to play
Yeah.
Hawthorn at the MCG 3 weeks ago, a game they happened to lose too.
Yeah.
There's nothing they could do about it given the context around that requirement for that change. But yeah, they've just got to work backwards from the integrity being impacted most adversely, don't they? And look, they've done that well to this point, the AFL, but you'd think between now and close of play, end of round 23, there's going to be some matches that do raise the question mark of full integrity.
How long before, Damo, we get everyone back into their home state? Is that possible? Is it GWS and Sydney almost you can guarantee that they're not going to reside in their hometown for the rest of the year? Is that confirmed?
Yeah, that pretty much is. And even them, Das, as you know, on it was Tuesday night, they had their heads on the pillows for the 25th night in a row in Melbourne, thinking that's where they're going to be right through until, in the Sydney Swans case, potentially the grand final. We're told to get ready to leave the next day to go to Queensland, which they've now done. There's yet to be confirmation given for those players and officials with regards to their families. It's adding up. There was even some talk during the week, and we discussed this on AFL Daily too, Das, that Northern Territory could still emerge as a hub for families, potentially, to get through the quarantine part of it, and maybe even a reuniting of the families of those clubs in Northern Territory. But again, it's yet to be locked in, but there's just so many things on the table at the moment, none of which can be signed off, and none of which have been signed off from the perspective of the families of those two Sydney-based teams not being in the home state for the remainder of the season.
Damo, before we let you go, this is Howie's favourite time of the night, where we go to you for a headline that hasn't actually happened, and you call it ahead of time. What's in your zone tonight, please, Damo?
Well, I'm scared to go down this path again, given Daisy's comments in the first segment, which led to a bit of I'd almost say a Triple M fight. But I think the Lions will win tonight, and as such, I think that will allow Daisy, headline writers, to go with it's over.
As in the Tigers?
Yeah.
It's over?
Yeah.
So he went down positive street then.
Really glad we got that one away before Damo rode off in his muscle
Well, we
car.
are in
and,
lockdown, so everybody who was listening now is just switched off.
Just for the Tiger fans, just been a little bit flat there. It is Damo puts the nail in the It's over, Damo. You normally get a play on words, some sort
just
of
2 words.
Just it's over.
Well, it's the big. If they miss the finals, it will be, from the footy perspective, the biggest story of the season, and it is heading that way. They've got a chance, obviously, to bounce back, but I don't see it happening tonight.
You reckon that's so? Them missing the final is a bigger story than the Clarkson succession plan and Buckley being sacked.
It's a very good question,
It's up there.
Dale.
I thought so too, Nathan.
The Clarkson story.
Now Damo's sitting there
upon
thinking,
reflection-
actually, Dale's got a very good question.
He has.
How
Upon
am I going to
reflection,
get out of this
the
one?
Clarkson one is the biggest story of the year, and will be for some time. Yeah, but the Buckley one, I think it matches up with that.
Okay, I appreciate your retraction.
Very, very rare to get a retraction out of Damo.
I don't think there's ever been a
I
retraction.
think that's a first.
Well, it's the
time I've
first
heard it.
time, actually. Yeah.
In a long
First time
while.
I've needed one.
I think on that note, we're going to
I noticed
say
you didn't ask too many hard questions of Brendan Gale when he was on.
What hard questions?
I just thought you could have asked him about these issues you got with Richmond, maybe.
Do you think maybe that Brendan Gale could be Damo's boss at the AFL? So he was just told, because we know that he gets told by the AFL what he can and can't say. That was revealed last year.
Where he can and can't go.
So
Very
maybe,
much so, yeah.
then we might have
Brendan, a guy, I think we get on pretty well, and there's no need to direct a lot of the problems at Brendan.
I like how he says, I think, as he scans his mind for when he has had an issue.
No, we do.
Well done, Damo.
Shut up! The footy's on Triple M!
Triple M rocks footy.